Well, back to one of our top stories today. China has denounced U.S. anti-dumping duties on Chinese-made oil well pipes. Beijing called the move protectionist and is asking Washington to recognize China as a market economy. On Thursday, the U.S. slapped a preliminary duty of up to 99% on the steel products, its biggest trade action yet against China. Joining us now for some analysis is Tai Hui. He is the regional head of economic research for Southeast Asia at Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you so much for coming in today. Are you getting a sense that protectionist sentiment is on the rise?
Well, I think certainly the economic slowdown has prompted more protectionist noise from, especially from the West, in the US and Europe, against current account surplus countries such as China. And frankly, the duty this morning, or announced yesterday, is just, I think, a wave of protectionist or anti-trade measures that could come in the months ahead.
That doesn't sound good for economic growth.
I think it does create a lot of uncertainty, but I don't think it's going to go out of hand, because partly if you look at the G20 communique several months ago, they do continue to support free trade, but I think there will be episodes of tariffs or protectionist measures coming through because of the political pressure in Washington or in Europe.
It seems that protectionism, Ty, it's Brian Shackman here in the United States, it's been more poking and prodding than punching. Some of these things are just little needles, and I'm wondering if this is a bit of a Chinese test on Obama, not to get too political, in terms of see how strong he is, see how he handles this diplomatically, and just to throw it in his court and see how he reacts.
Certainly, I think there's a lot of testing the water in the recent past with regards to trade, with regards to the issue of exchange rates, with regards to issues of treasury, for example. So I think that will continue to be the case, especially with President Obama visiting China next week. I think there will still be a lot of political testing going on in the near term.
Speaking of political testing, we had some comments from Jean-Claude Trichet from the ECB the other day, and he was saying he would like to see an appreciation of currencies in China, in Asia, but was that directed at China? And are you expecting to hear more such comments from global leaders directed towards China and letting its currency float?
Well, certainly, I think if you look at the Asian currency trend, I mean, renminbi has been underperforming most Asian currencies, i.e. they've been strengthening much less against the US dollar, against other Asian currencies. So definitely, I think China's very much a targeted economy in that sense. And I think going forward, we'll continue to hear more demand from the West on Asia to allow the currency to appreciate, because frankly, that's been an issue, slowing the rebalancing of the global economy. But I don't think that may not be the issue that will surface in a G20 meeting over the weekend.
No, well, they'll probably try and keep it off the agenda, Ty, so that they can try and play some golf, if they're lucky with the weather. I mean, is anything going to come out of this G20 this weekend of significance on this area, or are they just going to try and be tight-lipped about everything?
Well, I think they will discuss the issues of exit strategy, not so much the immediate implementation, but as we've seen with the Fed, with the ECB and the Bank of England, I think the timing and the way to exit will probably be on the agenda. I think exchange rate will be of a non-significant presence in the communique, partly because we do have APEC coming up next week, and also a number of important bilateral meetings and visits. And so not to spoil the mood for next week, I think the G20 communique will stay off exchange rate for now.
Speaking of APEC, what do you think this body has to do to remain relevant?
Very difficult, very challenging, because there are a number of other regional trade bodies that's being in place. For example, several weeks ago we've had the ASEAN summit, where the ASEAN members plus China, India, Korea, etc., got together and tried to establish their own free trade area. I mean, APEC had 15 years of that progress, but frankly very little is to show for it. So in that sense, I think we do need to see a bit more on the economic coordination, but of course other issues such as climate change will also appear on the agenda.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great weekend. That was Tai Hui, the regional head of economic research for Southeast Asia at Standard Chartered.